Thank you, Howard, and morning to everyone. Just a quick couple of notes on some of the technical things from yesterday. So I'm told our Wi-Fi is much more stable today, so it should be given a little bit better performance. And also the webcasting is looking like it's running good. So all good there. So I'm gonna take us through technology part 2. I'm going to talk today around communication on technical content. I've got a couple of items that have come up between the last LINX meeting and now. I'm also going to speak about service issues, network builds, an update on London 1, where we are with Juniper. And then I've got a couple of notes on London 2. I know Fleming covered that in detail yesterday, but I will go into a little bit of a recap on a couple of points I wanted to raise on that. So, communication on technical content. For those that were here at the last LINX meeting, I think Thomas made a presentation. We had a few discussions around how do we best get technical content in from the membership. On the back of the meeting, we were approached, or I was approached on the discussion item of BCP 214. So following the approach from a member to say, look, what's LINX's position on this? I put an email out to the membership and to the ops list to get some feedback, and there was healthy feedback. I also went up to UK NOF. We had a presentation slot. Ricardo presented on automation, but at the event, I managed to speak to a couple of interesting members who had views on BCP 214, and to say where we sit at the moment is we have some people that are very pro and some people that are quite against. So there's no clear outcome from our early consultation, so through the email and the UK NOF interactions that I've had. So the idea now is that we're going to have a discussion event, and I'll be posting an invitation for people to then subscribe to that. And then we'll have an online discussion, or we'll have a meeting around, depending on how many people are interested in taking that forward, and see if we can come out with a statement on that. So it's still open. It's still open for debate. One of the reasons I haven't had the chance to put the discussion event invitation out is we've been working on the portal from a software development point of view, so that we can bring on the voting rights for the board elections, for the registration for LINX101 that we've done, and also for the webcast. And so the software team, Eleni and her team, have been working on that since the LINX meeting, since we rebranded and changed the web portal. So the next thing that we'll be working on is creating ad hoc events, and one of those ad hoc events that you'll be able to register online will be for a discussion on BCP 214. So keep an eye out for that if that's an area of interest for you. The other one that came up, and we've talked about this, I think actually, in detail at the last LINX meeting, was the root collector. It came to us from the floor, so we had a look at that internally. So on the back of some operational changes for security matters, we shut down CLI access, which was raised as a change that wasn't particularly welcome, but we obviously put our point across as to why we felt that was the most secure thing for LINX's network. And the question then was, well, the features that we had on our current root server root collector looking glass wasn't as good as it could be. So we looked at the options that are out there. We looked at our in-house current looking glass and said, is it worth us rewriting that? And we quickly said, look, it's really not worth it. Most of the public available versions, so the open versions, are written in Perl. We have some limited Perl expertise within LINX, but most of our expertise is really on Python. So then the question was, well, should we rewrite the looking glass from Perl into Python? Is that worth the investment in time and effort? And what we ended up doing was talking to the team at LONAP, looking at the looking glass that they've had, testing that, making sure it worked on Quagga and Bird, and also on some of the other the root servers and collectors that we're running, and we've decided to deploy that. So we're going to be launching the same looking glass, the multi-router looking glass that is on at LONAP, and we'll be making that available across all of our root collectors across all of the peering lands up and down the UK, and obviously Nova as well. It still does say that, there's some additional features. I think it covers the vast majority of all of the. So when I had communication come back in from the membership, there were some features or some commands that wanted to be run on the Looking Glass. I think this Looking Glass interface will give 95% of what was asked for. There is some work that would need to be done to hit 100%. The question is that work worth being done in Perl? If obviously our expertise isn't in that area, and if there's anybody out there that's really passionate about this, wants to contribute, through maybe Perl development or converting it to Python, then please do feel free to speak to myself or Elaine and collaborate with us on it. But at the moment, the plan is to run it as it is and leave it as it is and make that available to the membership. Okay, so that, what then that brings me on to is that, we've got the ops list. It isn't ideal for putting across new technical ideas. So as well as these two suggestions, I've kind of been speaking to a number of people to say, well, how can we best get information into the engineering and software teams? How can we get good ideas and then say, look, if this is one person with a good idea, but it might be relevant for lots of other members. So the main focus has really been on dedicated email groups and something like an ideas hub, which we can create on the portal. Now that's we looked at whether we can have chats and instant messaging, and we have some collaboration tools that are out there. But time and time again, these are the suggestions that came back. So this is the idea that we're going to run with at the moment. And we've obviously got an idea that I'm going to touch on later that we want to get us started. But the view is that we will launch a technical email group. We'll take a page on the portal. So when you log in, at the moment, you go onto the portal into your area, you log in, and there will be an ideas area that you can then click on. So if we've got lots of emails coming in with ideas, rather than having to keep going back through the email history and the archives, we'll pick the best ones out of that and we'll put them onto the ideas hub. I mean, hopefully in time, we can have those ideas. You can maybe log in on the portal and click to like or vote on them, or all these sort of things. But just to have a landing page that gives you an idea of what's being discussed, like BCP 214. Yes, got a question over there.
James Blessing from JISC. Once upon a time, in the many dim and distant past, the morning before the start of the LINX meeting was a technical session. And by the sounds of it, this would fit into that session really very well. Absolutely.
I mean, that's a great idea. I mean, obviously, one of the things that we debated, James, is obviously the people in this room on the first day. I think we had probably around about 150 people in here, which is great. But there's many of the members that aren't able to travel to these events. But I absolutely take that as an idea of maybe we can do a bit of a session. Certainly, if we've got 3 or 4 ideas that are on the ideas hub, and we want to then maybe have a discussion before the LINX event, we'll definitely consider that. So thank you. So that's it on the. I mean, I think more of that's going to develop. So again, around this event or via email, please do, if you like the sound of this, if you've got input on ideas, how to share it, please do come and speak to me. Okay, so service issues and network builds then. Fortunately, we haven't had a lot of service issues. Hence, Mike would normally come and do a bit of a presentation on service issues. But we felt that we could combine this into a single slot because there hasn't been an awful lot of problems, which is great. There was one issue that came up on London 2 that Fleming went through in detail yesterday. For those that weren't available, I mean, obviously you can look back at the video and the presentation on that. But one of the discussions that I had with somebody after the event was, well, look, the mitigation that we put in place for the edge core devices with the CPU issue that was the root of this problem is not, it's a temporary fix. When we get the next software load, it'll be a permanent fix. So just to make sure that we are doing as much as we can to mitigate that risk. any device that reboots, we get a page. All of the NOC are trained on how to deal with that. We've got good support from IP Infusion on there 24/7. So if a box reboots or reloads and some of the configuration that was put in there to mitigate the issue is lost, then we have the process and procedures in place for people to go back in and correct that immediately. The issue only occurs when certain packet types are hitting the device, so the probability of a reboot and the packet type to hit the device more or less instantly afterwards is fairly low. And as I say, we've got good operational procedures in place to make sure we mitigate that until we get the final software load on that side of things. And also, one of the reasons we picked EdgeCore is, we did some study on them. The mean time between failure on the EdgeCore boxes is very good. There's long periods of uptime, and the likelihood that we'll be rebooting these or they'll be failing and rebooting themselves is very, very small as well. The other issue that came up was stats. It's more of a cosmetic issue. We had some database work going on at the weekend on our CRM. Something that we're still investigating occurred that confused how the stats was being sent to the web interface for London 1 and London 2. The team are looking into that, but if you look at the graphs, there'll be some unusual statistics that were picked up over the weekend. It wasn't anything production traffic affecting. It was purely cosmetic. And then on the projects, the main projects that we're working on at the moment, expansion for RBS. We've got a number of orders that are on at the moment being queued up. John mentioned yesterday. There's obviously the focus is on London 2. We've been doing the migration plan, as many of you would have seen on the maintenance tickets. It is a busy time for us. So the RBS project is scheduled to run. We're due to finish the migrations around the 5th of June. And then the team are going to focus on the RBS project, which is an upgrade to enable us to deliver more 100 gig content into that site. And we've got, I think, 3 members that are waiting for that capacity. And then the other one is LINX Scotland. We had a second site in Glasgow added. We had 2 LINX run into that, but they were running down the same fibre route. So we've now got the second diverse fibre route that runs into that site, and that's now been migrated, so we're fully redundant. A couple of other projects that are going on really focus on root server automation and some of the work that the NOC are doing. So I expect Mike and Anne will be keen to present on that at LINX101, which I believe is going to be in Manchester. So I'm sure you'll hear from Mike on that. So that, we'll be continuing to try and optimise the way that we configure and deliver services over the root servers. So London 1, I just want to get on. We spend a lot of time talking about London 2 and the great work that we're doing with IP Infusion and EdgeCore, but we continue to push on London 1. I want to give an update on where we are with Juniper and London 1. There's a lot of activity that goes on there. The main challenges that we see, I just want to recap on that so that everyone knows what we focus on. Scaling the core is one of the main challenges. As you'll probably know, we've got PTXs in the core. We've been running PTXs for a while. There are a set number of slots that you can plug into a PTX. We started off with Generation 1 FPC cards. We've upgraded to the 2nd generation cards, and we're in the debate with Juniper about the third generation cards. Do we augment the network by adding more core devices, or do we add more capacity through next generation cards? And obviously the cost is down to architecture, or the challenge is down to architecture versus cost, and how do we deliver that? The other area is adding PE capacity. So we used to use the MPC4s, which gave us 200 gig edge ports for member connectivity. We upgraded to the MPC7s so that we then could go to 4 ports per card. And really that only scales so far, and we're still in the process of using those cards to deliver 100 gigs to the membership. What we're looking for now is what comes next. And then the third area of a challenge is Telehouse North 2. So we've we've extended connectivity into Telehouse North 2 for some time ago. We deliver PI into Telehouse North 2. But at some point, we're going to have to deploy a full exchange service out to that site. And exactly how that will look and how that will build into our plans, we're in discussions with Telehouse on how we do that. But that will be an investment point in the network that we obviously want to tie in with the technology investment that we're working on with Juniper. So our focus really at the moment is on the Juniper Universal Chassis. So we don't see the MX960 being able to scale for us considerably longer term. Very reliable boxes. We're very happy with the life and the functionality that we've got out of them. But the Universal Chassis will give us a 24-port 100 gig card per slot. It's still built on the same MX Trio silicon, so it supports all of the features and functionality that we have today on MPLS and VPLS. And it's probably seen as the most viable option to EVPN. So the debate between QFX versus the MX, if we want to go to EVPN on Juniper, at the moment the Trio silicon is looking best for us to deliver that. And there's potential that we could use the Universal Chassis as a sort of a merged PE router in the network as well, which then obviously will reduce the cost and the capital investment, and also the ongoing OPEX, the support investment with this particular product. So what's the plan at the moment? We are looking at the various price points. The question is always going to be about how you transition. So when do you make the investment? At the moment, we are buying a third-generation card to plug into, say, a second-generation slot, removing the old one. If you're going to add a complete new node, then there's a step change in the way that we invest in the capital. So we are planning that transition point. That's really our focus at the moment. It's a lot of whiteboarding, it's a lot of discussions with Juniper, it's a lot of talking with their commercial and technical teams to make sure that we put the right plan in place. What are the considerations? Well, we're going to have to do another proof of concept. It's going to be quite a sizable proof of concept to take in the LINX's network. We did one back in November, or Juniper did a proof of concept for us back in November in 2017. We need to revisit that. We need to make a debate, do we take the 8-slot chassis, which is available now or very soon, or do we wait for the 16-slot chassis, which will be available towards the end of the year? That will also tie into maybe what we're doing with Telehouse. When do we need to deploy services into Telehouse North 2? And then we've got to make a decision about EVPN. Do we roll out EVPN on the network first and then wait for Junos to give us that functionality on the Universal Chassis? Or do we deploy the Universal Chassis on what we know works, MPLS, VPLS, and then look at how we move to EVPN thereafter? EVPN, just to let you know, does work on the Universal Chassis, but there's some challenges around the statistics. And for those that have been with LINX for a long time, we've had a bit of a history with statistics gathering on Juniper, so we're not going to revisit that. So we've got those are the main considerations at the moment. When do we make that investment in the Universal Chassis, and exactly how do we transition that network, the current network, towards that? Okay, so that's hopefully that's a little bit update on London 1. I just want to recap on London 2 now, and just talk a little bit over what we did yesterday, and then also this idea that I'd like to put out to the membership here. So following on from what Fleming said yesterday, it has been a fantastic team effort, and I know Fleming went through and thanked everybody, sort of bit of an Oscars award ceremony type thing. But the team, whether infrastructure, whether it's on monitoring and systems, whether it was on software, we wrote a lot of tools to help us do the migration. We're writing automation tools at the moment, and obviously the engineering team, as you heard from Fleming, put in a lot of effort and time and shifts on doing testing and more testing and more testing, and getting probably very frustrated with Fleming asking again to do some more testing. But, you know, everybody really across the whole of the technology team at LINX has been involved in this project, and it's been a fantastic learning experience. I mean, you know, from a cost point of view, there has been a burn operationally on staff in doing this. But for those that, if you look back to when we put the budget proposal in for the London 2 upgrade, you know, I think, you know, looking at the rough numbers, we're probably running about, you know, 33%, about 30 to 33% spend on capital based on the original budget. The operational support we're seeing around about the same sort of reduction, so running around about 30% of the operational cost that we had originally planned if we would have gone for a traditional type network deployment. All of that saving obviously is beneficial, but it hasn't been 100% saving. Some of that saving has obviously transitioned from spending it with, say, the vendor to spending it internally in the teams. But I think, you know, the learning, as I think Fleming has touched on, is valuable for us going forward. You know, the adoption of disaggregation, the augmentation of our automation systems and our monitoring is going to be vital to how LINX operates in the future. So I think, you know, that investment of putting that focus internally on the teams and the systems will pay off for years to come, and it has been a fantastic team effort. We are committed to automation. Eleni spoke a couple of meetings ago about the launch of our automation system on London 1, and it's been, you know, fantastic. Say Ricardo did a presentation at UK North where we were talking about, I think we've done 1,100 deployments since the launch of the automation platform in October, which is fantastic. We're committed to rolling out that automation platform on London 2, so we're in the process right now of writing the Napalm libraries and the various interfaces into NetConf to be able to deploy onto the OCNOS EdgeCore IP Infusion software and hardware. We're gonna obviously turn that type of development. We're going to publish back out into the community as well, because we want people to benefit from using automation and interfacing with IP Infusion software. So that's something that we're going to contribute back. So we're very committed to making sure that we continue to run LINX fully automated across the network deployments. And you know, and just to reiterate with what Fleming touched on, the partnerships that we have formed, you know, with IP Infusion and EdgeCore, you know, we've got so much from them. Their team, you know, some of the team are here today. They're, you know, every level of the organisation. We've had the CEOs of the respective companies come to the LINX100 event. I think some of them are going to come back to LINX102 as well. And, you know, we've had, you know, fantastic support from them, and we really, you know, it has been a partnership, and we wouldn't have been able to achieve this without both those companies supporting us as well as they did. And then that, you know, really brings me on to this idea for the first technical idea. A couple of people have come to us and said, well, look, how can we test out OCNOS, and how can we get involved in you know, EdgeCore type services? So one of the ideas that I'm in discussion with EdgeCore and IP Infusion at the moment is, you know, can we bundle an offer together where we take some, you know, EdgeCore devices and some licenses from IP Infusion and make them available for a period of time free of charge to a select number of LINX members. You know, within this ideas hub, we will have a London 2 landing page, and on that landing page will be information that Fleming talked about, the features that EVPN provide, some of the frequently asked questions about buffers and those sort of things, and, you know, potentially configuration guides or user guides, you know, contact numbers for the respective companies. So if that's something that is of interest, you know, as I say, I'm in discussion with both those companies at the moment to see whether we can put a bundle together. Depends if we have 1 or 2 people, or if we have 5, 10 people. That obviously is a different challenge for them on resourcing and hardware. So you know, if you are interested, please speak to me later today or drop me an email, because if, you know, I get an idea of the number of people interested, we can make sure we tailor that bundle offer. But either way, we're gonna promote this on the Ideas Hub as our first main idea, and you know, you'll have the opportunity to respond to that and come back. So, and that's it really. You know, it takes me to the end of my presentation. You know, just to say thank you for your time today, and if there's any other questions on anything I've covered. Okay, well, thank you. Oh, go on. Yes, Neil.
No need to run. So the first topic, the BCP madness, when did we decide that? Because it feels like, I thought we kind of decided that we had no consensus already, and it feels like we're trying to almost, I'm trying to use a zombie apocalypse theme. It feels like this is going on and on.
So from a timing point of view, it was just shortly after the LINX 100 meeting.
Okay.
So it had been March time that one of the members said, look, you know, what's LINX's position? So the idea was to, end of March, put a consultation, well, not a consultation, but an email out to the membership about what do people think.
Okay, and why it feels like a strange approach to doing something. Are we presenting this at a members' meeting, or is it some other meeting, or... Because it wasn't very clear.
So it hasn't been presented at a members' meeting because I wanted to get a clearer idea on sort of how people felt, and the objective was, rather than have a debate here where maybe not everybody can attend the meeting, we would do an event where we could invite people to then do maybe an online webinar type meeting so that we could have a discussion. Because there are some, as you know, there's some strong views either way. So
that kind of feels like an office moment. We'll have one meeting where no one can attend, so we'll have another meeting where everyone that might want to attend. It kind of feels a bit challenging that we had an opportunity to talk about that now and we haven't taken it. So we're going to have some other thing that makes it even harder for people to attend. It's just a different approach, and it kind of, as someone who finds time management challenging for something like that, it's a bit infuriating, frankly. And I didn't sense a huge amount of desire to deploy this, other than by the people who wrote it.
Yeah, I think, you know, as far as time management, we don't want to. If there's only a few people in the audience that are interested, we didn't want to take a big segment of the meeting up. But
Richard, this affects every single member.
Yeah,
every single member, right? And it's a pretty substantial change that I think it's important for the membership to debate. So having a kind of a sideshow where people decide things on behalf of other people feels to me like the wrong direction.
So just to be clear now, so it won't be decided at the webinar was really, the concept of the webinar was really to make sure that if there was deep technical debate, we could do that at a separate occasion. Whatever the outcome of that debate was, okay, it would come back to the membership, because as you know, if this was to go ahead, there would be, as you say, impact on all the members. So we would not be signing off anything outside of a membership vote. I mean, if this was to go ahead, I imagine, and I haven't, you know, spoke with everybody involved in this, but I would imagine that we would have to have a full consultation on this because of the implication of if we did deploy it. But there's been 2 or 3 different technical solutions suggested, as well as the BCP 214, that I think is worth us having a technical discussion outside the LINX event, and then we'll bring it back into the LINX event.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Neil. Anyone else? Anything else? Yeah.
This is a comment rather than a question specific. At the last LINX meeting, we had a challenging discussion, shall we say, by our usual presenter, Mike. And I just wanted, while he's here and not up at the front, to say we do love you, we do appreciate you, that the questions over policy and decisions are not personal. They were just that, questions over policy and decisions. And it's a shame not to see you up at the front today.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, look, thank you again for your time. If you got, I mean, certainly as BCP 214 is a hot topic. So if you've got some ideas and say look out for the event, do look. And if it goes on, I will be back at LINX 102, and we will have much more of a wider membership discussion. But thank you for your time. Cheers.
Thank.